So Doris just needed to be close to her audience to infect them. Contagion through skin. Very disturbing. It's alive. It's alive. And it needs a name. I shall call you Lisa. Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor. Still trying to save lives?
I'd like to see your goods.
Wise choice, Dr. Reed. A reliable gun is what everybody needs these days.
What news, Jonathan? I've heard you've now joined the vampire elite of London.
Did Elizabeth tell you?
So it's Elizabeth now. My. Things are moving quickly. I turn my back for a moment and away you go.
Have you seen Lady Ashbury recently?
Yes, she popped in yesterday. Told me about your new friends in the West End.
Just a courtesy visit, then?
Yes. And no. She was en route to the docks, I think, following a lead concerning your maker.
How's the situation at the Pembroke?
We're still holding out. Question is, for how long? What we really need is hope, Jonathan. Hope for a better tomorrow.
I may have found the source of the contagion. Doris Fletcher, the actress. Thankfully, in the end, she was destroyed by fire.
Really? Oh, please, do tell me more.
Doris was a heavily mutated skull. Almost a new breed entirely. It's as if the disease had completely altered her mind and body. Highly contagious.
As if the disease had taken control of her will?
Yes. Once a beautiful and brilliant woman, she became motivated by hate alone.
Oh, she was a beauty. I met her when she visited the hospital to cheer up the sick. Too bad the fire destroyed her. But it was probably for the best.
Have you heard of similar cases?
No, I don't think so. Except, perhaps, it reminds me of an old report from the Brotherhood. Well, more an article, really.
What was it about?
The author, a friar, referred to a rare form of contagion in a skull he observed during the Black Death. The carrier was always female. They called them Icors.
I'll come back later. Thank you, Edgar.
Always a pleasure to see you, my friend.
Hello, Venus.
Hello, Jonathan. Please, come in. Know that you are always welcome here. But at this... What do you need from me, Jonathan?
Tell me about Clarence's obsession with vampires.
It drives me so crazy it makes my stomach hurt. I was so relieved to have him back. But I quickly realized he'd lost his mind in France.
I understand your irritation, Venus. But you have to accept the trauma Clarence endured on the battlefield.
The question is simple, Jonathan. Is my husband mad? Yes or no? Do vampires exist? Or is Clarence a lunatic?
So you don't believe Clarence?
If poor Mary, bless her soul, had tried to convince you of the existence of bloody vampires, would you have believed her? Seriously?
The important question is, what do you really think of your husband?
I'm tough, Jonathan. He should have told me the horrors he witnessed, however appalling it was, instead of inventing a fantasy about blood-drinking monsters.
Why are you poisoning your husband?
He has spent a fortune printing his bloody papers. I can't stand this nightmare anymore. We are the butt of everyone's jokes since he returned.
If you're so frustrated by Clarence's behavior, why don't you just leave him?
I have already lost the best years of my life because of him. I will not jeopardize my future for some lunatic. He goes, and I inherit what's left.
I cannot let you kill your husband, Venus. This madness is more insane than his obsession.
What are you going to do? Report me to the police? I did my research too, Dr. Reed. The substance I use is undetectable.
Don't press your luck.
And did you see Clarence's state of mind? What would become of him if left alone?
What do you think about Clarence squandering his fortune on his obsession?
Soon we'll be poor, and forced to sell the house. Where will we go? In which filthy, infected part of town will we end up? I'm so afraid.
Goodbye for now.
I'm so sorry for your loss, Jonathan.
Good evening, old chap. Are you all right?
I won't lie to you, Johnny. I'm not a well man.
These are the documents you wanted me to look for. I think I've gathered all the available occult research about vampires.
Oh, thank you, Johnny. That'll help me separate the myths from the facts.
I'm not sure you can consider this material factual, but it's yours now. What do you intend to do with it?
First, I'm going to show them to Venus. It'll open her eyes and make her understand the importance of my mission.
Venus is poisoning you, Clarence. She wants you dead.
So she really hates me that much now. My poor wife. I had no idea my research would drive her to such extremes.
I'm sorry, Clarence.
Why would you tell me that? First you returned from the dead, and now you tell me my wife is trying to murder me.
You're a stupid bastard, but you're my friend, Clarence. And I don't have many left. I don't want you to die. Not like that.
But I love her. I love my wife. Did I make her suffer that much? Have I become such a burden?
So you have no suspicions about her at all? Nothing in Venus's behavior has seemed odd since you returned.
Frankly, it's my behavior that's been odd. Ever since I got back from the war, she accuses me of being paranoid and delusional.
You need some rest, Clarence. You should try to sleep. Hello, Venus.
Hello, Jonathan. Please, come in. I remember when Mary came here with her husband and her son. What do you need from me, Jonathan?
Did Clarence recently show you documents that prove the existence of vampires?
Yes, he did. And he also told me you spent a few nights gathering research for him. Seriously, Jonathan. Why feed his obsession like that?
He's my friend. I thought it might help him rest, instead of going outside at night. Tell me, what are your thoughts about vampires?
Gibberish and poppycock. Dracula was a good book, but these documents were just mumbo-jumbo. I burnt them all as soon as Clarence went outside again.
Why do you and your husband argue so much?
He is not the kind man I married and loved. He is obsessed now. Obsessed with chimeras. I feel trapped. It just makes me want to scream.
Goodbye for now.
You know that you are always welcome here. But
Good evening, Miss Teasdale. How have you been since you returned home?
Dr. Reed. Oh, thank God you returned safely from these awful streets. I was so worried about my father that I left without thanking you properly.
Please don't mention it, miss.
Good. I found him, you know. My dad. Or what was left of him. I think my abductor intended to do the same thing to me.
What do you do for a living, Miss Teasdale?
Before my kidnapping, I was a waitress in a pub. Now I'm unemployed.
Were you fired?
No. It's just that after my recent experience, I don't feel like I can go back to my normal life. I need to do something useful.
Be very careful, Miss Teasdale. You were lucky to escape death once, but vampires lurk everywhere.
You killed my kidnapper by yourself, didn't you? No offense, Doctor, but you're just a doctor. I don't see why I couldn't do the same.
What do you intend to do?
Dad always told me, Louise, if you want something, don't stop until you have it. I did my research and I found it. Ichabod Throgmorton, professional vampire hunter. I'll be his apprentice.
What can you tell me about this area?
I've never really liked this part of town. It was where my father wanted to live. I won't remain here much longer.
What exactly don't you like about it?
People here are contemptuous and elitist. My dad always said, Louise, always treat people like you want them to treat you.
Why did your father feel guilty? He seemed so eager to welcome you back, as though he'd done something wrong.
Last time we saw each other, we had a terrible argument. I left the house and ended up in a pub. That's where the vampire met me. Dead drunk.
I see.
We argued a lot, me and Dad. But he always came home. I'm sure that's why he went to find me. He knew something bad had happened.
Your father never gave up on you. In the end, he risked everything to save the daughter he loved.
Yeah, that was my dad. Tough bastard, just like me. Even if I'd broken his leg, he would have gone looking for me.
What do you mean?
That last argument we had, it was more of a fight, actually. He slapped me and I kicked him hard in the balls.
Louise, tell me what you really think about your father's sacrifice to save you.
I'm proud he went after me. I forgive him all his harsh words, all his bloody attitudes. I only wish I could tell him how much I loved him.
Yes. It can be traumatic, not having the chance to say goodbye to those we love.
Yes, Doctor. And there's no treatment for that type of pain, isn't that right? That may be the last thing my father taught me.
Louise, what can you tell me about the vampire who captured you?
The little fucker claimed he'd fallen in love with me. That he wanted to spend eternity with me. Not a bad idea. At least that's the way it seemed at first.
Really? Did you consider accepting his proposal?
Well, immortality. Not a common wedding gift, is it? I think he just wanted to have his way with me. Can vampires even fuck, Doctor?
What? Well, I really can't answer that. Well, since they are creatures of blood, physically speaking, I suppose an erection is possible, but
Don't be embarrassed, Dr. Reed. I was just asking.
You seem to cherish your father a great deal.
Dad was the best. Kept an eye on me, but let me make my own mistakes. Louise used to say, mistakes are the best teacher. You would have liked him.
I'm sorry you didn't have the opportunity to say goodbye.
That's all right. He's buried in consecrated ground now. Nothing bad can happen to him.
Goodbye, Miss Teasdale, and be careful. Until we meet again.
It's always been your house, Dad. Not mine.
Women die too in this war.
For as long as I've been a member, I've never seen so few vampires attending the club nights.
Lord Redgrave can play with the brave all he wants, but I won't put a foot outside until the Pre-Wen end their hunt.
Elizabeth, what are you doing here?
I've been formally asked to witness your triumph, my dear. After all, isn't it the natural role of a woman to support her man in victory?
But it's you who insisted I join the Ascalon.
Please forgive my giddiness. I'm just overcome by the thrill of finally being allowed within these hallowed halls.
You certainly have an inquisitive mind. It's quite something. Elizabeth Ashbury, only you can make me smile in these difficult times.
And the same to you, Jonathan Reed. Now go have your little chat with the chairman. I can see he's practically bursting to hear your report. We'll talk later, Jonathan.
I personally went patrolling last night in the West End, and I spotted at least 2 foreign echoes. This is an outrage. We shall chase these intruders down.
Welcome back to the Ascalon Club, Lance-Bearer. Please tell us the good news. Have you put an end to the epidemic?
My hypothesis was correct. Doris Fletcher was the source of the contagion in this part of town. She was probably the first to be infected.
And you cleansed her before the hunters, I've been told. Well done, Dr. Reed. You thrust your lance and pierced the very heart of the corruption.
I'm just a doctor.
The important thing is, we won a major battle for the survival of London. For that, we salute you.
Thank you, my lord.
Now, I have another task for you. One of the utmost importance. Perhaps even more so than the previous.
I'm listening.
It's time for you to perform a most sacred duty for the club. I want you to recruit a new vampire.
Recruit a new vampire? Are you sending me on some sort of diplomatic mission?
Not exactly. I want you to make Aloysius Dawson the Ekon he deserves to be.
I'm sorry, but I can't.
Are you questioning my orders?
No. It's just... I'm not sure I'm ready to have another progeny after what happened with my sister.
The rebirth of Aloysius Dawson is a necessary step in our campaign to ensure the safety of London.
How would you like me to proceed?
Aloysius is waiting for you at the Dawson estate. Once the deed is done, I'll join you there to celebrate this momentous occasion.
Before I go, I have a few questions.
All right, I'm listening.
Why Aloysius Dawson?
Because he is about to die. And he just may be the most influential man in England. After me, of course.
Did he choose me.
No, I did. My decision is very recent, to say the least, but it is entirely mine.
Does he know I'm coming?
He can't wait to become your progeny, Dr. Reed. Especially now that you have shown how strong your lineage is through your sister.
How would you like me to proceed?
Don't worry. Aloysius has had many years to prepare himself. He has studied our kind for decades.
So shall I just let him drink my blood?
Yes. Aloysius will gratefully sup on your blood. His heart will slow, then stop. But he will rise again as one of us, an immortal.
Is there any danger?
Our blood alters a mortal body so deeply that some don't survive the metamorphosis. They die for good. But Mr. Dawson has been preparing himself for a long time.
You invited Lady Ashbury. Wouldn't that be breaking one of your cardinal rules? No women allowed.
Not allowed as members, no. But considering the circumstances, I thought you'd like to have her here to witness your triumph.
So it's a temporary admittance, then?
Something of a bargain, considering the crisis we're currently facing.
Goodbye, Lord Redgrave.
Understandably, you have questions. Very well, proceed.
Goodbye, Lord Redgrave.
Are you all right, Jonathan?
Lord Redgrave has just ordered me to turn Aloysius Dawson, to make him my progeny.
I see. And how do you feel about this?
I won't do it. The very thought of it makes me sick.
The real question here is, why has his lordship given you this task?
Do you think it's some sort of trap?
Do you really want to know what I think about this?
I do, yes.
To make an immortal of a soulless blackguard like Aloysius Dawson will only lead to a disaster for London. The man is already dead inside.
Should I refuse? Perhaps politely suggest that Lord Redgrave turn the man into a vampire himself.
Don't you dare, my dear. According to what I've recently discovered, his lordship could kill you for even broaching the subject.
Really? Why?
I've recently found proof that the Earl of Bristol is of lesser lineage and only capable of creating skulls.
Please tell me more about your recent investigation.
As long as you lower your voice.
What would you have me do about Dawson?
The man is dangerous. Did you know he plans to build a wall to separate the healthy rich from the sickly poor? Do not make him your progeny.
What would you do?
The man's dying already. Let the Reaper harvest the rotten fruit that is his soul.
Are you sure your information about Redgrave is correct? He says he's the progeny of the great knight William Marshall, who lived some 9 centuries ago.
That's a lie. Lord Redgrave is unable to create anything but skulls, if the poor souls survive at all.
How can you be sure the information was correct?
I made the acquaintance of a most interesting informer while investigating your maker, from whom I learned the truth about Lord Redgrave.
Why so vindictive? You suddenly sound like you're angry.
Forgive me, Jonathan. I hate myself for it, but I feel such pride in my discovery. I'm afraid I just can't help it.
Which is?
He did serve William Marshall. And yes, the blood he covets as a token does truly belong to that legendary knight. But he was never his progeny. His lineage is not so noble.
What would happen if I made Dawson an Ekon like myself?
You would add a powerful immortal into a suffering world. An immortal who already craves authority.
Maybe I could teach him control, like you taught me. Lead him down the right path.
Mr. Dawson spent his life searching for a way to cheat death. I'm sure he has spent decades dreaming of how he'd spend eternity as a tyrant.
Goodbye for now, Elizabeth.
Goodbye, my dear. Please, be careful.
It looks like vampires have to obey Mendel's laws when producing progeny. Powers pass from one generation to another. That's why Dawson wants me to sire him.
Tasty rats. Those clever rodents are cautious now. They won't approach.
I need to find information about Aloysius Dawson. What can you tell me about him?
Don't trust him. He's looking for the same thing I was. Rats? No, not rats. Something else. I don't remember.
I must go now. Goodbye, Miss Billow.
Rats. Those clever rodents are cautious now. They won't approach.
I must go now. Goodbye, Miss Billow.
You make me sick, you juicy, warm treat. Damn it! Oh my! What have we got here? A dead rat. Oh, so gross. So tempting. Eternal life. Through the blood of the lesser beasts, he said. Oh, dear God, help me. Save me, for I can't stand what I've become. feeding rats. Those clever rodents are cautious now. They won't approach.
Why do you eat rats, Karina?
Their flesh contains the path to immortality. I have to eat them all if I want to live. Help me. Please. Make it stop.
I don't know if I can, miss. You have been tricked, forced to play a disgusting game. I don't know how to save you.
Kill me then, Doctor. Take my life. I beg you.
I can't do that, Miss Billow. I'm a doctor. I won't kill as an answer to pain or suffering. Never again.
It is my decision. If I could, I'd do it myself. You're a doctor, but also a vampire, aren't you? Kill me, please. Make it stop.
Tell me what really happened to you, Karina.
He was so handsome, so charming. He asked if I'd obey him in every way. I said yes. And then he...
He tricked you?
Yes. He has promised me eternal life. And now I must eat these rodents for attaining it. But of course, it's a lie.
I must go now. Goodbye, Miss Billow.
Yes, Mr. Jonathan?
What can you tell me about Aloysius Dawson?
Not much, sir. Mr. Dawson's house used to be a good house, with many servants. I heard he fired them all recently.
Goodbye, Avery. Please watch over my mother until I return.
Of course, Mr. Jonathan. But please return as soon as possible.
Hello again, Mother.
Jonathan, back already? Good, good. I was just about to go outside to find you. You shouldn't stay away for so long.
Goodbye, Mother. Try to rest now.
Goodbye, son. Please come back soon.
Good evening, Miss Ashbury.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reed.
What do you know about Aloysius Dawson?
That man is a tyrant. The embodiment of greed and selfishness. All I despise about this country.
Goodbye, Charlotte. Give my best regards to your mother when you see her.
She's been quite busy these last few nights. I suspect you may see her before me.
Good evening, Mr. Kimura.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
Do you know anything about a man called Aloysius Dawson, by any chance?
Well, I've never met the man personally, but I invested money in some of his companies when I came to London. A brilliant businessman.
Goodbye, Mr. Kimura. Take care. Hello, Venus.
Hello, Jonathan. Please, come in. At least you survived the Great War. I feared the... What do you need from me, Jonathan?
What can you tell me about Aloysius Dawson?
I never met the man. I know Clarence tried to contact him recently, but I don't know why.
Goodbye for now.
At least you survived the Great War. I feared the worst.
These leaflets were telling
Good
the
evening,
truth
old
all
chap.
along.
Are you all right?
I won't lie to you, Johnny. I'm not a well man.
What can you tell me about Aloysius Dawson?
Well, I've discovered he's quite versed in occult knowledge. So I wrote him a letter asking him to finance my research about vampires. He never responded.
You need some rest, Clarence. You should try to sleep. Good evening, Miss Teasdale.
Can I help you, Dr. Reed?
What can you tell me about Aloysius Dawson?
Never heard of him.
Really? He's very well known in London, throughout the country even.
He a big shot or something? Never interested in politics myself. All words and no action.
Goodbye, Miss Teasdale. And be careful. Until we meet again.
It's been your house, Dad. Not mine.
Have you noticed anything suspicious recently?
Good evening, Dr. Reed. A great night, what?
Do you know anything about a man called Aloysius Dawson?
He used to be a big spender. One day, he sent 3 houseboys to buy all the baluka in my shop. For his brother's birthday, if I remember correctly.
I see. Anything else? Less gastronomic, perhaps?
I really can't say. The man is filthy rich. But you know that, of course.
So, did you try the restaurant I recommended?
Oh, yes, I can't thank you enough, my dear doctor. Exquisite, but expensive. But what is money made for, if not for little pleasures?
You disgusting pig. People are dying of hunger and poverty in this very city while you eat your fancy meals.
Your words hurt, Doctor. I thought you and I were friends. But since you ask, I'm rich enough to finance my passions. And various charities across the city.
Perhaps my words were too harsh. Please forgive me if I've upset you.
Oh, no harm done. After I die, all my fortune will go to the suffering people of the East End. Until then, I aspire to live the most pleasant life possible.
Goodbye, Mr. Russell. I'm sure you'll take care of yourself.
Have you noticed anything suspicious recently?
Don't you know better?
I think this passage could lead me close to Aloysius Dawson's mansion.
To read. Good evening, Jonathan Reed. Can I help you in any way?
Is there anything you could tell me about Aloysius Dawson?
Aloysius Dawson. Yes, of course. We met on several occasions. With time, he got deeper and deeper into the occult.
He's not the only one. It's been quite the fashion for several decades. The Golden Dawn, for instance, is just one example.
True. Aloysius was a member of the Golden Dawn until 1900. Then his thirst for dark knowledge grew. I'm talking forbidden texts, readings which blackened his heart.
Goodbye, sir. Until we meet again.
I rarely wander, yet it amuses me to converse with your kind. Red River, a song in the dark, the whispers of a sun. So many sounds.
Good evening, Mr. Baker.
Why do I always have feelings of déjà vu when I talk to you?
What can you tell me about Aloysius Dawson?
I've heard this is a man who has searched for his place in the world for a long time. I hope he found it.
Goodbye, Mr. Baker.
Hello again, Dr. Reed.
What can you tell me about Aloysius Dawson?
You should ask that question to my brother instead. Personally, I've not seen Aloysius for many years.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Baker.
Seems violence and madness. Dr. Reed, still conducting your nocturnal survey?
What are you investigating, exactly?
Well, my 2 missing persons cases have been solved. By you, it seems. Are you just that lucky? Or do you know something I don't?
I was lucky enough to find them both while conducting my investigation in this part of town.
Why do I still have the feeling that you're hiding something? What about the abductor? Was it the same person?
I don't think so. You had better interview Miss Teasdale and Mr. Kimura on that matter. All I did was to lead them safely home. Do you know anything in particular about a man called Aloysius Dawson?
Who doesn't know the man? I think he intervened personally to put an end to the police strike of last August.
What else can you tell me about him?
Aloysius Dawson is exactly the kind of powerful and influential man who could commit murder and get away with it. With just one phone call.
Goodbye, Detective Inspector Albright.
Goodbye, Dr. Jonathan Reed. I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Good evening, young lady.
My mother always prefers when people simply call me Carol.
Have you ever met the famous Aloysius Dawson?
Yes, a very strange man. Not very nice.
What do you mean?
He said he was ready to pay good money for rare books, and then laughed at what we showed him.
Goodbye, Carol.
I am sorry, I can't help you, sir.
Good evening, Miss Price.
You know you can call me Carolyn, my dear doctor.
Do you know Aloysius Dawson?
Everybody knows him. He's only been to my shop once, though, looking for rare books and other intriguing antiques.
Did he buy something from you?
No, he left quickly. He almost laughed at my goods. Mr. Dawson may be a rich man, but you can't buy good manners.
But isn't Aloysius Dawson known for his philanthropy?
That was before his brother Robert died in an aeroplane crash. Since then, the remaining twin has turned into a heartless tycoon.
May I look at your goods, Miss Price?
It's always a pleasure to have you here, Dr. Reed. Take all the time you need. I hope you can stay a little longer this time.
Good evening, young lady.
My mother always prefers when people simply call me Carol.
Goodbye, Carol.